Black. That's all Mrs. Patterson saw when Marcus Thompson pulled up to Roosevelt High School in his beat-up Honda Civic. Black man. Old car. Suspicious. She didn't care that he was a retired Army colonel who'd served 24 years with distinction. She didn't care that he was just a father waiting to pick up his daughter, Yasmin. What mattered was how he looked. Minutes later, 2 squad cars pulled up behind him. Officers Kevin Bradley and Tom Morrison stepped out, hands on holsters. "Step out of the vehicle, sir," barked Bradley, already judging. Marcus kept his calm. Decades of service had taught him how to handle tension, even when unearned. He complied, explained, showed ID, his license, and an expired military card. Bradley snorted. Morrison smirked. "Colonel, huh?" he said like it was a joke. Then came the question, "What's in the briefcase?" It didn't matter that it held nothing but consulting notes and a half-eaten protein bar. Within minutes, Marcus was cuffed. Students poured out of the school. Yasmin might have seen everything at the station. Officer Danny Chin looked up as Marcus was marched past. Something didn't sit right. But when he tried to run Marcus's ID, Morrison shut him down. "We know who we're dealing with," he muttered. Marcus requested a phone call. "To my sister, Sarah Thompson Williams. She's an attorney." Morrison waved him off. At Roosevelt, Yasmin paced, confused and worried. Her father was never late. She called Aunt Sarah. Sarah's instincts flared. Something was wrong. Back at the precinct, Lieutenant Robert Hayes took over. He uncuffed Marcus, but turned up the pressure. "You expect me to believe you're military?" Hayes sneered. "Anyone can buy those IDs online." Marcus stayed composed. "Colonel Marcus Thompson. Service number 2417 to 2009. 24 years. I now consult for the Pentagon." Hayes chuckled. "Sure you do." Just then, Officer Chin walked in. "Sir, his sister's here. She's demanding answers." Hayes waved it off. "She can wait." Inside, Marcus sat straighter. Sarah was here. In the lobby, Sarah was a storm. Calm, fierce, legal. "Under what charge is he being held?" she demanded. "There is no charge," Bradley admitted. Sarah pulled out her phone. "Then I want the incident report. Now." In a back office, Chin quietly pulled up Marcus's full file. He gasped. Not only had Marcus served, he was a Bronze Star and Purple Heart recipient. A Pentagon consultant with current clearance. "Morrison, look at this," Chin said, stunned. Morrison read it, face draining. This can't be real." "It is. We never saw it," Morrison whispered. "We let him go, and this dies here." "No," Chin said. "That's not right. You'll ruin your career." "I'd rather do the right thing." Chin stepped into the hall. "Lieutenant Hayes, I need to show you something." Hayes, irritated, followed. Sarah trailed behind. When Hayes saw the screen, his bravado cracked. "Colonel, Pentagon consultant, active clearance." Sarah leaned in. "You held a national security consultant for 3 hours without verifying him?" Morrison showed up, already crumbling. "It was a misunderstanding." Sarah recorded. "Did the misunderstanding include mocking his title? Refusing his call?" Hayes muttered, "Release him." Inside the interrogation room, Marcus heard the door creak. Chin stepped in, eyes low. "Colonel Thompson, you're free to go." Marcus stood slowly. "What changed?" Sarah answered. "They finally checked your credentials." Marcus looked at the men in front of him. "What if I wasn't a colonel? Just another citizen?" Silence. "You failed not because you didn't know who I was," he said, voice steady. "You failed because you didn't care." As they walked out, Hayes trailed behind. "Colonel, let's talk. Man to man." Marcus stopped. "Man to man? You didn't see me as a man. Just a threat." Sarah was already planning. "Expect a federal lawsuit in 48 hours. Chun followed them out, guilt etched into every line of his face. "Colonel, I tried, but I hesitated." Marcus looked him dead in the eye. Knowledge without action is silence. Hayes muttered one last plea. "This doesn't have to go public." Marcus turned. "It already has." They stepped into the daylight. Marcus, upright and unbowed. Sarah, the storm at his side. But inside the precinct, fear was growing. Because this wasn't over. Not yet. 48 hours after his release, Marcus Thompson's story made headlines. But for him and his family, it was still raw. Sarah filed the federal civil rights lawsuit at sunrise. By noon, The city attorney called District Commander Captain Williams in a panic. "This is going national," he warned. Lieutenant Hayes was suspended pending investigation. Morrison faced disciplinary review and possible termination. Officer Chun, though not punished, was temporarily reassigned while cooperating with internal affairs. Back home, Marcus sat beside Yasmin on the couch. She hadn't spoken much since that day. Finally, she asked, "Dad, why did they do that to you?" Marcus paused, choosing his words carefully. "Some people see what they're afraid of, not what's real. They acted on fear and ignorance. But you're a veteran. You helped protect them." "Yes, but even if I hadn't been, what they did would still be wrong." He declined a quick cash settlement. "I want this to mean something," he told Sarah. "Policy change, training, real reform. That's the harder path," she replied. "Then we walk it." Over the next week, Marcus reached out to other veterans. Stories poured in. Men and women of all races, misidentified, humiliated. "They see us, but they don't see us," one black Marine said. "I showed them my uniform photo, and they laughed." Local news caught on. Decorated veteran detained without cause. National outlets followed. Civil rights groups reached out. Veterans organizations offered support. Marcus's pain became a rallying point. 3 weeks later, he organized a town meeting at St. Mark's Baptist Church. 50 chairs filled quickly. Veterans, parents, students, even off-duty officer Chin sat in the back. Marcus stood tall. "What happened to me isn't rare. It's just visible now." He invited Chun to speak. The room fell silent. "I was there," Chun said, voice shaking. Protocol was ignored. Respect was denied. "That's not the officer I want to be." Sarah presented data. Stop rates, race demographics, internal complaints. The evidence was undeniable. By night's end, the group formed the Coalition for Police Accountability. Marcus became its spokesperson. Sarah, legal counsel. Chun, a liaison for reform-minded officers. Their demands were clear: mandatory body cameras, civilian oversight, bias training, and transparent disciplinary reviews. "This isn't about punishing police," Marcus told reporters. "It's about fixing the system." 2 months later, Marcus appeared on CFN News. "I wasn't detained because I did something wrong," he told Jennifer Martinez. "I was detained because they assumed I didn't belong." The interview went viral. Membership in the coalition soared past 200. Sarah negotiated settlement not just for damages, but for change. Body cams on all patrols, biannual bias training, a civilian review board. Hayes retired early. Morrison was fired. Chin was promoted to detective and placed in charge of training reform. At a city council hearing, Marcus testified, "Trust is earned when police follow the same rules they enforce." The new policies passed unanimously. Yasmin, inspired by her father's courage, gave a speech at school. "When something bad happens, we can stay angry, or we can turn it into action." Her words echoed across social media. Soon, Marcus was speaking at police academies statewide. Chin joined him. "We're not here to shame anyone," Marcus told cadets. "We're here to build something better." 6 months after the incident, Marcus addressed the state legislature. "I'm not anti-police," he began. "I'm anti-injustice." The Marcus Thompson law passed with bipartisan support. It required verification procedures, anti-bias training, and independent oversight in all departments. National attention surged again. Yasmin applied to West Point. "I want to serve," she told her father, "but I want to serve a better America." Sarah's book, From Injustice to Action, became required reading in police training academies. Chun, now a lieutenant, helped implement policy changes in cities statewide. A year later, when another black veteran was wrongfully detained in Colorado, Marcus's name was brought up in congressional hearings. This time, Washington, D.C. was listening. He was invited to testify before the Congressional Committee for Civil Rights. "What happened to me wasn't unique," Marcus stated. "It was part of a pattern. But change isn't impossible. It just takes courage." He shared data. States adopting the Thompson model saw a drop in civil complaints and stronger police-community relations. The testimony helped push forward the Federal Police Accountability Act, tying federal funding to departments that implemented the reforms. Marcus was appointed as senior consultant to the Department of Justice. Chun led the national training rollout. Yasmin graduated from West Point with honors. Her thesis, Leadership Through Adversity, Lessons from Marcus Thompson. Sarah was nominated for a federal judgeship. Marcus's nonprofit, Veterans for Equality and Justice, grew into a national advocacy network. 18 months after his arrest, Marcus stood in the Oval Office as President Catherine Roberts signed the Police Accountability Act into law. She handed him the ceremonial pen. "For your daughter," she said softly. Marcus smiled, tears in his eyes. "For everyone's daughter."